Well, hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner on the internet. I'd like to thank everybody who's subscribed recently or in the past. You're all extremely welcome, and I'm very appreciative of it. For those who've left thumbs up for the videos, thank you ever so much, and for the lovely comments as well. And hopefully I'll get round to answering the ones that were left yesterday in a little while. My day's been weird. I kid you not, it's been a strange old day with lots of odd things going on and what have you, but it's fine. We all have days like this from time to time, don't we? So I hope that you're enjoying drawing along with me, whether you're drawing something similar to what I'm doing or taking elements out of this and using them in your own. That's perfectly fine by me. And it's lovely that I can inspire and encourage people to be creative. Now then, I now have to figure out what the blooming heck I'm going to do here next. Because I do want to do something up here. I think I want to take something around this area here just to connect this. Then I'll have a couple of empty-ish spaces that will be filled with other things. So I am going to take that idea, I think, of a central kind of bead, almost like these, but I think I'm going to do something a little bit different to these, because here instead of having kind of circular plumptuousness here, I created shapes that were almost like a rhombus, a trapezoid. There you are. So narrower at the top and wider at the bottom. Not in all cases. Here I think I'll do something completely different and keep this all nice and circular. And I'm going to put some stripes in because I can. Because I think it'd look quite nice. So these will be on stalks, and I might just put a couple of dots in there, you can see, so that gives some shadow that's going on. And I'm definitely going to do some black here. I think I want the black areas to go quite a long way round from the bottom here. So it suggests that there's a lot more shadow this side than at the top. Like this. So there's that. Actually, those are quite nice. They're quite cute. So let's do another one, because you can't have one on their own. This one will go behind this one, like so. Have the stem coming off, and for this one, because it's a bigger one, I can put a couple of these little steps underneath. And again, it's going to be taking the stripy bits around. And now this is where I want to be careful, because I want, because if that's going to be black, this one will be pale here. Work it, so I'll make another one there. Normally I try to do these so that they wouldn't, sort of like black ones attached to black, but I don't know how that's going to work out. I think you'll know what I mean. So let's put some black in this one, and in this one. That'll be fine, because I've staggered them so that although this does touch that black area, it's distinctly separate from it. And of course this one again. Now I like to leave a nice distinctly clear break I know that some people will do this by flicking the pen and creating a more sort of like brushed metal kind of feel to that little bit of dazzle there, but I'm not one of them. So these are quite cute and I do love them. Again, it's just taking that idea of something that's circular. Oh, that's a big one. It's a big bumper. Bumper is a very big marble in this here part of the world. I'm not sure if it is in other parts of the world. But if you refer to a big bumper, we're really referring to something that's big, like a huge marble. I used to have a collection of them, particularly as a child, but I used to have a jar full of them here as well because coloured glass I find rather attractive, and marbles, and but I don't know what happened to them. They may have gone out in a big clean out, or they may have been gifted to somebody who wanted them, needed them for a project. I have no idea. But even as a child, I really enjoyed. I couldn't play marbles for love or money. I am not a sporty person. Not one bit am I. But there are so many beautiful sort of like glass balls around. And colours are just beautiful often. Check I've got the right stripe. I prefer to do this as I go along because it can get just that little bit more tedious, I think, if you leave it all to do it at the end. Somebody's drilling out the back here. You know, another house behind me, and it just sounded like a dentist drill. Oh, happy days. Fortunately, they'll soon be finishing because it's what? It's 3 o'clock here. Said it's been a funny old day as I've been focusing on how to draw dogs for adorable dogs. As I'm turning my attention to that now. I'm feeling almost 100% better now. And I just wanted to see if I could figure out this a bit better. Not this, the drawing of dogs. Because I feel I'm struggling a bit at the moment. I'll get there. Don't have too much left to do. But I also had a chat with a friend who I haven't spoken to for a long time. And it was lovely to catch up. A bit. There's a lot more to catch up on, I'm sure. And we will do. It's funny, this week seems to be a week where old friends have been getting in touch again. So, don't know what that means, if anything. All online, of course, in my case. So. Okay, so where do I put? I want one more at least. So do this area is big enough to do other things with. So I think it will have to go in here, really. Might, because you've got to have, or I have to have an odd number if I can. So we'll do my stripy bits. I think you can see that it's worked out quite nicely because most of these I've got, you know, the black stripe, you know, sort of like butts up against a colourless stripe or an uncoloured stripe in all of them. And so it helps to, I think it helps to see them each being distinct and individual, separate. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And you can bet now with this last one, I bet you I get it wrong. It's okay though. It'll be fine. It's not so critical, I think. And this is just me. The shape of the lines would actually separate them quite well, because they go in different directions. So this one's going up and these ones go down. So you get that break in the pattern of them, but it's quite nice to do things like this. So that's worked out quite nicely. I could put another one in here, but that would mean I've got 6 instead of 7. But if I pop another one in here, that would make 7, wouldn't it? So one can go in here. Underneath that, floral kinds of motif here. And then another one I will pop up here again, just connecting things to the borders. Now then, where's this going to go? Oh, it's going to come down here, I think. I'm going to have a bendy one for that one. So let's do the last bit, the stripes. Sorry if this is a bit like watching paint dry. So as I say, this is what it is, and it's quite nice because it's quite relaxing. It's something, it's really, do that drill really is like a dentist drill, but it's not a dentist's. I told you this one wouldn't work out, it's there, but it's fine. I don't even know if you can actually hear the sounds from around and about me. Oh, they're hammering now, which is fine. I'm not complaining about the noise, it's just the ones that sound like a dentist drill, so goodness knows what they're drilling into. Hopefully not teeth. I'm going to lose that pointy tip here, but that's okay because I'll just adjust the end of it so it will stop here instead of going or that pointy way, whatever pointy way it wanted to go. There we go. So that's all of those done. So it's a nice little collection. They look like bullseye sweets, or black and white striped mince gobstoppers, you know, black and white striped with funny bits on the end. I seem to remember gobstoppers used to have like a little seed in the middle. I think it was an anise seed, when I was a child, and you used to suck on them and get to this interestingly tasting seed. I've always liked anise seed. Okay, so let's have a look. Move all of this here so we can see the entirety. Okay, so this is looking, it's quite nice. I've got a space here. This is a big space, and these look like a chain, so I might just put a couple more of these in here and perhaps a couple more up here as well, just to fill that out. And then I think that's all of the motifs added. So next job is going to be adding lots of colour and also doing something with these spaces. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to add one that falls off the edge. That's going to have a really thick black base. It's fine. It is what it is. And let's pop one of those in the middle, and I think I'm going to do like little petal shapes around it, and then really One like that, and I think it would be quite nice. Let me have a look. I think to have one here. Sorry, I'm spinning this around because I think just here would be quite nice as well. So that would be just that little bit darker. I could do with something just up here as well. That will give it me an even number, but they just didn't feel like they were just sitting correctly here. So that's fine. So then I think I could do with some here. I think I'm going to do ones that are like the doubly striped, or the ones with the narrow and wide stripes. Just checking that I'm still on camera because my head's elsewhere a bit at the moment. Another one here. So that's quite nice. And then I think I'm going to need something up here, so that'll be all right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to imagine where the lines would go for that one, and perhaps I'll do one of these here then as well. So just thicken that line a little bit. And these are the ones that have this and little circles around them. Like that. So how's that looking now? That little space there is just bugging me to high heck and back. So I think I'm going to use a couple of my favourite kinds of fillers. I love these little seeds. I don't know what it is about them, but they are just my favourite thing to use. I think it's because they can be dotted around as if they've been wind blown or blown in. Now this is a bit of a narrow space here, isn't it? So what do I do? I say narrow space, it's not the space, it's the narrow connection here. It doesn't feel right. I can't say, I think you just have to trust your senses often on designs and patterns, is that sometimes they just don't feel right. And I can't put it into words. It's one of those things I was telling you about yesterday, is that I don't always have words for my thoughts. And I tell you what I'm going to do on this side is I'll make use of one of those over here, because that will help to tie things together a bit. Got lots of things there. So that looks a lot better. Still want to have something that comes here, so this just doesn't feel right here. It feels like I need to connect these in some way. And I think that's where some little sprouting goodies will come in quite nicely, I think. Oh, what have I done here? Not thinking about where I put them, but they always work out. So I've got some on that side, and I'll put some on this side, just to balance it all out. And just one more there, I think. And that then just connects this so that these spaces are enclosed but they're open at the same time. Now then, the only thing that I want to do really is just add a few more of these little seedy things that I like so much in various places. It's too small to have a little white dot in the middle of the black in the centre, which is fine. I might be able to get in there with a tiny dot of white gel pen when I do that. So I'll add one here on its own, and perhaps one down here would be quite nice. Like so, that's quite lovely. And perhaps a couple over here. I think that using little things like this, these little motifs, these little patterns, these little shapes, designs, I don't know what you call them. I like to call them motifs. But I think it just helps to tie things together, and it just brings that little bit more interest and also a bit more black into this, that darkness. Oh, I'm off the screen, I'm so sorry. Just like to sprinkle them around. Different sizes, different amounts showing, and they just serve to fill little spaces in an interesting kind of way. Okay, I am going to just do some up here, because I think up here is where I really would like some of these. They also help to tidy up areas, or just to pop something in where there's an awkward little space that I could fill with black, but I don't want to. But just to pop these in just adds to this without leaving that, say, those awkward spaces. I think that's how my mind thinks anyway. Black needed there, and I will pop one here. They can be grouped together or sprinkled randomly around. I tend to like to group them, almost like they're little bubbles. Just pop one in there. And then just perhaps a couple around under this one. Perhaps not so many. I don't know. Whether these tiny little spaces, I'm happy to fill those with black between these. It's going to be really quite difficult to get anything like a brush or a pencil in. Down here perhaps one. Or two. Or maybe even three. Pop one here. And perhaps pop another one there. And there. Oh, which you can't see. So sorry. I popped one down here. there, then I went down there, then I came back here because I just want to get a little grouping there, perhaps a little grouping here as well. Then just looking, I think here I could do with some big bumper there. Well, relatively speaking, it's a big bumper, and then I'm going to work my way just here and pop some in between and around these just to finish them off, because there's some little places where they'd quite happily nestle in, I think. These little dips and so on in these, where they'd nestle in and catch, I think. Be quite nice. There's another one there. Perhaps just a little conglomeration of them. So that's quite nice. There's a couple there. And I think I may call that done. I think I might call it done. Just decided that I could just pop a couple of those there. And perhaps just one, maybe two there. Perhaps just one there. Just to tie that in as well. So that works out quite nicely. So there we are. It's all drawing with black done. Lots of colour or shade to be added, but I also want to do something with these background areas, and I really do enjoy putting patterns in. Now then, how am I going to do that? Just looking at time. Oh, gosh, that didn't take me as long as I thought it would. I'm going down here because I'm getting my tray full of odds and sods here, because I'm hopefully going to find a souffle pen. Say hopefully, there we go. There's not a lot left in there, but that's okay because I do have some more somewhere. Okay, I just want a piece of paper. It's a shopping list. Need to sort out my... There we are, that'll be fine. Okay. So I'm going to pop some patterns in with this souffle pen. Now, the souffle, once it dries, is permanent. It's waterproof, unlike the jelly rolls. Jelly rolls will reactivate with water. Water will move them around, which is useful because you can use them like a paint. But the souffles don't. They dry. They're quite plasticky, a bit like glaze, because the Sakura and the glaze pens are a bit like that as well. I don't think I have got white glaze, but I don't know where. So I want to put a pattern in here that will show up. See, I just want to draw spirals because they're my favourites. But what I really want is something, I don't want to overlap these white areas with the souffle. So you may not be able to see this, but I'm doing this pattern. There you are, see, like soft cheese. I want some garlic and herb cheese, the soft kind. So I'm going to do this kind of pattern. Like little bursts, bubbles that have burst. Got no idea what it's called. And I may also put some little bubbles in like that, so it's a bit champagne-like. Yeah. So you imagine there's a circle inside, and you just do the lines around the outside. It just works, no matter how you do it. So let's have a look here. I've got to find where I put those now. The key to that is getting the angle of the light right on the page. And once you see, while they're wet, they catch the light and glisten, and you can see where you've got them. The lovely thing about these is, as well, is that they don't pick up the colour underneath unless you really work it really hard. And you're not likely to see this until I go back and add some colour over it. What I'm doing here is I am adding some little circles in because I can. It always reminds me of coral fossils in rock. I'm trying to think of the name. They create these beautiful patterns. Or perhaps some other patterns I see in fossils as well. There's another fossil I'm trying to think of. Are crinoids, almost, perhaps they remind me of a bit. The ends of crinoids, kind of. Crinoids are prehistoric sea lilies. And it's often the stems that are preserved in the rock. And they're like little cylinders or little pipes with ridges on the outside. And they even got circles on the inside, but you can see this kind of pattern, if I remember rightly, in the end. I may be conflating one fossil with another, mind you. And yet, I like fossils. We have a lot of them here in the UK, as people do around the world. In fact, down on the South Welsh coast, not far from me, or in Wales, I think we've got fossils that have been found that are unique in the world, and 3 species. They belong to other members, so we've got Theropods, which are the dinosaurs like T-Rex and Allosaurus, the big meat eaters. These ones, though, were really quite tiny in comparison. It's all relative. But you can just catch this in the light, can't you? See? There we go. So I'm trying to I'm moving my head so I can see what I'm doing. So if my hand gets in the way, I do apologise. But the pattern is just really easy to do. And it means that I don't have to touch any of the black lines I've put in, because that would create a white break in the line, and because I'm using these, then it's not so easy to go back over with a black pen, because this is essentially plastic and I don't have a permanent one I could use. Okay, I think that'll do. See? Have a look. Yeah, you can make it out and see it. It's very subtle, but when I add some shadow around this, it'll bring it out and it'll look like a rock that's got lots of fossils in. Okie dokes, so that's that one. But it needs to dry before I can do that. It doesn't take too long. It's already going white and opaque, so it won't take too long. Okay, what can I do here? I think here I'm just going to put arrangements of, good old shopping list and a pencil. Let's move it over. So I'm just going to put arrangements of dots in triangle shapes, and sometimes ones on their own just to fill it in, because I think that would work quite nicely as a nice little filling pattern here. And the 3 dots together, well, it's an odd number, isn't it? As with all of the Sakura pens, the lighter the text you have, the more ink that flows out from the nib when you push the ball in. And I'm going to do that with these dots in between, because I'm going to fill the spaces. Hopefully, though, you'll still be able to see the trios that are together. Let's have a look, see if I can catch the light just right for you. Oh, there we are, just beginning to see it there. The other one has just about dried and you can see it really nicely. Nice texture, that one. Okie dokes. So what can I do here? I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of them. This small area over here, I think I'll do the triple dots together. This reminds me of a symbol that's used in maths. It's called QED. And QED is, it means something like, and there's the proof, or this is the answer. Oh, it's been proven. I can't remember exactly. But it was something I used to have to do in maths in school, was put QED at the end of some kinds of maths problems. I was never very good at maths. Never quite got it. I still don't. I'm a scientist as well, but oddly, I could actually do quite well with statistics more than maths. Quite good at statistics. I think it's because it was a tool and not abstract. It's quite a concrete kind of thing rather than maths, which can be pretty abstract in its way. So I am just adding this kind of pattern here as well, in between these little frondy things there, in between these. So the only places, and I think I'll do that in other places, like here as well perhaps, and perhaps put some in down here, perhaps in here. I'm not really being careful about the placement of these. As such, they will do what they can given the space. So sometimes I've got like a chain of 3 rather than a triangular arrangement. There we go, and under here as well. Just managed to get 3 in there. The nib of this, just like the jelly rolls, tends to get clogged up a bit as any excess of the souffle ink dries on it, so it needs a bit of a clean from time to time. There we are. And then there's really only this area here and this one. So this big one, I think I'll do the same pattern in that I did here, and this one I'll do that. Now then, before I finish, I'll do this in my own time. I won't bore you with that in its entirety. This one here is now dried, so I need a water brush, and I want a colour that'll be quite sympathetic with this. There's sort of like a gentle blue there, so I reckon this colour, I'm going to use Graphitint pencils, and this one I've got out is called Shadow. Just sharpened it so I can, and I'm just going to pop this around the edge and see, as well as in between these little seedy things here. Normally I do all the other colouring. Part of me wonders whether how much I should actually colour in, because I've got colour helps to highlight certain areas or certain designs. And show them up, and perhaps the black and white ones are more supporting. I don't know. It may be that I leave an awful lot uncoloured because this is just it's not a finished piece of art as such. It's an exploration, so not everything has to be completed or filled in. And I think when you understand that, when you give yourself permission to work that way, I found it quite freeing, quite liberating in a way. It's being able to say, I've done enough now. I know I can see how that works, and it's something I can make use of further down the line. So let me have a look. I'm just squeezing some water here. So again, it's going to be working into the darker areas. And the Graphitint does give a fair amount of colour, so I do want to bring it forward just a bit to bring out more of this pattern I've put on the paper in the souffle. Now, while there's quite a lot of water coming out of this water brush because I squeezed it quite hard, and I'm quite happy for that to happen because it'll mean that it'll be easy. I won't get harsh lines of colour. I'll be able to keep on spreading them out and working with them for a while. This is interesting because I can see how the bits of graphite in these actually remain behind and how they create a little texture on their own. So I want to keep the middle bit fairly colourless, so that you're not going to see it too well because there's a lot of shine here, but it will dry. And I think this one over here, these are now pretty much, well, they are dry. It's not pretty much, they are dry. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to use the same colour. I'm going to use this shadow for all of these areas, putting it around the edge of the space and creating a gradient from fairly dark around the outside edge to not so dark in the middle is the theory. Of course, it needs to be done fairly carefully because otherwise I could end up with everything all the same colour, but I don't want that. I do want the outside edges to be darker, and you might see me move my brush because I'm just wiping some of the colour off my hand because I forgot to get a piece of kitchen towel. Yeah, it happens. My hand will do fine. This isn't toxic. Well, not on my skin anyway. By eating it, I wouldn't eat it anyway. But strange thoughts that go through my head. I think it's from the days of teaching teenagers, is that I learnt that if they could put something in their mouth, they often would. And as a science teacher, trying to explain to them that no, you can't eat in here, was always fraught with all kinds of problems and issues. Okay. So those are beginning to dry. Hopefully the have a look. The souffle will show up. It does because it catches the light, but that darker colour helps it. It's just subtle darker colour. You can see the difference from this area to this one. This has the graphic tint and this doesn't. Once it's dry, I can go around the edge and add more of this just to darken it up somewhat. But I want it to dry. I could put it into the wet paper, but this paper isn't very good with wet media or when it's wet, because it's not watercolour paper. It's mixed media paper, but it doesn't mean that you can go to town with it. That's my experience anyway. So just tidying up here as wait for it to dry in the hope that you'll be able to see it a bit better. Just angle the light slightly differently. Does that help? Most probably not. I don't know. Pick it up, just about pick it up there. So this is practically done. I do think I'll add colour to this. And I think over these ones, I think I'll add some colour to them, but I think I'll fade it to just shadow. I think that'll be quite nice. I'll think about it in these. What these here, perhaps I'll just do, I don't know. There you are. I made my mind up. And I don't know whether I will finish. I do like this. It's very subtle. It's subtle, but it's there. You can see. Let's see if we can. There you are. So that's quite a good kind of image where you can see it. It's almost like, it reminds me of oh gosh, lace that had daisies embroidered on it, sort of like thick white daisies on top of very fine lace. It reminds me a bit of that. Yeah, I know, I'm going back in time. So I haven't done a lot. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're having fun adding to your drawing if you're drawing along with me, and that you're finding some inspiration and perhaps some new motifs or designs or tangle patterns to use in your own art. And it'd be nice to think I'm inspiring you just to experiment as well, to try things out. Sometimes it leads you down roads you think, what on earth was I thinking? Sometimes you're thinking, I'm glad I thought that now, because I can see it was a good thought, even if I didn't think so at the time when you come to look back at it. Hopefully the trick is remembering what you did so you can do it again. That's the hard thing. But the drawing for this one I think is done, and it's just a question now of deciding about colour and everything else. So I am going to say thank you once again for everything. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs ups are always good. YouTube shares it more with other people so that others may find their way here and they'll find this useful and encouraging as well. So I'll just leave you with best wishes for the rest of your day and time until we meet again. And whatever else you do, try to find just a little bit of time to be creative each day. Take care now. Bye-bye. Bye.